You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Live every single Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern on all your favorite social media networks out there. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside, he's back from a camping trip, Mr. Normal New Host,
Sean Sebastian,
Vanilla Steam, and
Breaker of Candles.
Breaker of Candles.
Breaker of Candles.
He's going to talk all about that story tonight. That's right. We got a good story time segment coming up a little bit later on. He's going to let us know about all of his shenanigans.
I don't have shenanigans.
And we'll talk about our own
My
camping
whole
stories.
life is a shenanigan.
Well, we know that for sure. I mean,
Uh-oh. I
He's
lost
searching.
he's searching for.
There it
He
is.
wants one. Oh,
What? It's
you
too
can't.
low, yeah.
You
It's
can't.
too
You can't do it
low.
while the
Musically
music.
going.
Now you can do it.
I know you tell me that, but
It's too late.
yeah, it's over.
What?
It makes
When,
no
the,
sense
when the
now.
time comes, it'll happen.
I wasn't camping Tuesday when I missed the show.
Yeah.
No, well,
He
no,
was
but
with his
you
children.
you were celebrating your. Well, we mentioned that on the show. You were celebrating your
We
son's
actually
birth.
wished your son a happy birthday.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
we did.
Sawyer. No, it's Andrew. Right?
Wrong kid.
Yeah, no, we wished Andrew a happy birthday.
What you haven't got him confused yet as to which one is which, and called him out, called the dog's name when you're calling for them, or
I do. I have done the dog's name thing.
just run through the gambit.
I've been
Yep.
like, dang it, Lando. I mean Andrew. I mean Sawyer. Like,
That's what my
it's
dad
like a
was
brain
known
fart.
for.
Mhm. Well, everybody's parents. I
you
mean,
get
I
older.
do it. I
Yeah.
do it.
Can't help it. It's like you got too much to keep track
I
of.
do it with
right.
my nieces and nephews and dogs.
You got a lot.
I do.
There's a lot.
And
There's
honestly,
nieces and nephews
is.
and dogs. That's a lot
Yep.
going on.
I'm just like, hey,
got
you
a
know
lot.
who you are. Get over here.
It's like you know who I'm talking to.
Get over here.
we can't talk about the second
And then I hook
episode.
them with a blade and pull them forward.
Dang,
Yeah.
he gets violent with him.
like, listen.
Scorpion.
It's like somebody's going to parent
Get
you.
over here.
Get over here.
I want him away. I say, freeze. I don't think Sub-Zero says that. He just shoots the ice beam
he
at him.
doesn't say nothing. He
Freeze.
doesn't, he doesn't give them a warning, you know.
Chill out.
Chill.
He's like Arnold Schwarzenegger
Chill out.
in Batman.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
time
all-
to put you on ice.
So great, so good. No, we do
Okay.
have a great show planned. We kind of teased it last week, so we have to talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
Because we're not going to talk about the second episode, only because Keith hasn't seen it yet. No spoilers. I mean, we've all played the game,
I know how the general storyline.
Yeah,
it works.
but you don't know what plot points
That's
are
right.
told out in what episode.
That's right.
And number 2's, I think, better than the first one. I'll at least give you that, heads up. But we're talking about The Last of Us, of course.
Ooh, that's good.
What did we think about the premiere? Was it good?
It is.
Finally
Oh,
brewed
this is
correctly.
This is a good cup of Joe.
Java.
My Technivorm's
You want
finally
a cup of
working.
Java, Jules?
It's a cup of Joe.
Cup of Joe.
This is the only Joe I like.
It's not old. It's fresh.
Like this Joe doesn't sniff little children.
But no, let's talk about The Last of Us. What did you all think about the premiere episode?
I thought that was the unique part of the unique segment.
No. That's story
that's story
time.
time.
We
I
can,
I know,
but camping
both
is
were in there. That's why in
We
the
can-
synopsis.
What does camping have to do with The Last of Us?
Because
actually
you
it
have
could.
to camp.
Yeah, if-
Living out in the wilderness?
Think about it.
I mean, if you are The Last of Us,
I thought the premiere was fine. I don't dislike it. It's one of those things where there's certain things that I just playing the games, obviously, and I never judge anything directly because always changes have to be made from one medium to another.
Yeah.
But there were certain emotional moments I thought that the game nailed better.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
That we're living in a time where the games can carry more emotional depth in the story than
Yeah.
a movie,
Yeah.
than people actually acting.
Well, and it's
like
funny because
crazy.
all of the game,
Hey, voice actors, I've always
I know,
appreciated.
yeah.
them,
And I mean the motion capture
Yeah.
and all that stuff, but I'm just saying that's just crazy.
well, and it's funny that it was such a popular. I mean, we've seen this before, tropes done in the past of obviously video game movies and how bad and awful they are.
Yeah.
We've just come to expect it, and this was one where I was like, it didn't blow me away, but I enjoyed it. I'm looking to see what. I was interested because Neil Druckmann actually directed the second episode, and so I was like, okay, this has a little bit more of his flavor in it, and I think it does translate to screen real well. Some set pieces you'll definitely recognize. Characters, of course, and motivations are sinking in a little bit more in the second episode. Still not too, thrilled with Pedro Pascal. I think he's kind of lukewarm right now in terms of the kind of feelings I was
I don't
getting from
think
Joel
he's bad,
in the
but
game.
Yeah, he's not. He's a little bland.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I just hate to say it, but I think that Troy Baker just nailed it in the game, which is, like you said, crazy that we were capturing not only the voice acting talents but the actual acting prowess of them when they were dressed up in the suits, they were doing the mocap for the game.
And there's plenty of time.
Yeah.
I know we discussed it with Uncharted and oh man, I'm forgetting his name, the voice actor.
Nolan North.
Nolan North.
Thank you. And how like some people actually wanted him to be Drake in a movie, and then of course we've always talked about David Hayter if they made a Metal Gear Solid movie. And honestly, I think Troy, because the woman who plays Marlene is the voice actor from the game. And it's funny because Star Wars does this too. Some of the characters that originated in animation, they got the voice actors to play them in live action, but some of them they replaced.
Yeah.
And it's weird how they pick and choose to do that, because I honestly don't feel like, after seeing Pedro Pascal so far, I'm like, I feel like you should have given Troy Baker a chance. I think he might, I think he could act on screen. And it was just kind of, it's just
Actually,
kind of weird.
true.
Yeah.
I that is true,
think one of
especially.
the- go
just
ahead.
Nolan North doesn't fit the physical, the physique of
That's
Nathan
what I was
Drake.
No,
gonna
and that's
say,
the big
yeah.
problem. Like,
Troy,
I
Troy Baker
understand
could
that.
have easily. They could have made. He doesn't really look like Joel.
No, but neither does Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, I mean, other than the scruff that he has, the
Yeah.
little scruff he has, I'm
To
like,
me, acting's
come on.
more important than looking like the character. But at the same time, I mean, you don't want to be so far off that you're unrecognizable to the character as well.
And Sean, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say that exact point. I was going to say I think the issue that they have with getting the voice actors to play the actual characters in these films and stuff is in TV series is they don't look like the character in the show. It's like Nolan North doesn't look nothing like Nathan Drake.
Right.
There's so many other actors. Nathan Fillion was one that everybody wanted to play Nathan Drake. It would have been amazing because he looks like him and sounds like him.
They had the fan made.
And, that was
short.
that was better than
That
the
was
movie.
awesome. Yeah.
Instead, they went with Tom Holland.
Yeah.
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 And even
So-
played it off as like, oh, a younger Drake. And
Yeah.
it wasn't
It
bad.
was fine, but we gave
honestly,
it a favorable review, but it wasn't great.
no,
Like, yeah.
it wasn't. It was honestly a kind of National Treasure, Pirates of the Caribbean, like adventure flick knockoff.
Yes,
it was
yes.
subpar in so many areas
Compared to the game.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the main thing is video games and movies are such a different dramatic medium that when it's pulled off so well in a game, it's like no other experience. You can tell why you would prefer a game to a movie. Now, granted, I understand some of these series and movies are made for those who aren't video game connoisseurs or don't play them, but it's funny how even the well-adapted ones are now kind of paling in comparison to just playing the game. And I hate to say it, but Uncharted fits in that category. Both Naughty Dog properties too, Uncharted and Last of Us. And so far, Last of Us isn't bad. I'm enjoying what I've seen so far.
I think it will be a success for HBO.
Yes.
I don't know if it'll resonate with all of the hardcore fans. I think
Right.
casual audiences and people who've never played the games will continue to like it. I think it's going to do well for itself. I'm just not fully sold. And I've only seen the first episode again. And again, I didn't think it was bad. I'm just not fully committed to it yet. It didn't hook me the way, like I said, House of the Dragon, the very first episode, like
right
that
off
was
the bat,
that was a show that I wanted to watch when it premiered every Sunday. I haven't watched the second
But
episode of The
funny
Last of Us
enough,
yet because it just didn't hook me that way.
I was talking to somebody at work, and definitely not a gamer. And that an ad popped up on my computer screen. He's like, "Oh, have you seen that? So good." And it was just interesting because I'm like, I even kind of told him, I was like, "Well, I've played the game, and it gets better."
Yeah.
And kind of like, and I even told him, I was like, it sticks really closely so far to the game.
plot, yeah.
And I was like, but he was enthralled by it. He really liked it. So I'm like, for those who have never played the game, who are getting their first taste of this world and what they're building, I guess it's so far they're sticking the landing. And that was the hope I had, considering that it was HBO produced.
Yeah.
Because so far they've showcased that they don't just, well, apart from like Velma, I don't even want to get into that.
Well,
I don't even want to get into that garbage.
HBO and Warner Brothers do they kind of like I've complimented Netflix for this too. They do produce things that I think they definitely have their hardcore woke bull crap, but they also they are a little bit more well rounded, and Velma's tanked hard, so that's all we have to say about that. Oh no, like nobody likes it, even the woke crowd don't like it.
Well, they think it's a psyop.
So
they keep calling it a psyop for being deliberately bombed just so that people that they're
are some,
trying to say
but
it's tanking deliberately just so that people can get woke like nonsense out of storytelling. And I'm like, I don't believe that at all.
No,
like that's where the leftist side of the house.
some of them,
like,
but they're actually leftists that agree. Like even every entertainment, like Entertainment Weekly, Hollywood, even they have given it bad reviews because it's garbage. It's garbage. Like even they can't defend it based on just the woke nature because they're like, no, this is bad. Like
this is what happens when you go full woke.
We started watching Wednesday on Netflix.
Oh yeah,
and it's actually pretty good.
No,
I've
seen the whole thing.
It doesn't have the woke nonsense in it. There's bits and pieces, but it's nowhere near what I expected.
It's Tim Burton.
That's what
I was really surprised.
Yeah,
he directed it.
Yeah,
he made it.
Yes,
and I was really surprised. Like me and Miranda watched the whole thing, and I was like, It's not like I think it's like no Game of Thrones by any means.
No.
But it is. It's entertaining.
It's entertaining. It's funny. I mean,
my only gripe about it is I don't care for like Wednesday's perfect. Jenna Ortega as Wednesday's perfect. The rest of the Addams characters, which are like basically background characters in this, I don't like. The
Catherine Zeta-Jones is hanging.
Yeah, she was awful.
Yeah,
no,
she's not good.
She is not Morticia.
No.
Yeah, I don't care for the rest of the family, but they only appear in like 1 or 2 episodes, so it's kind of not a big deal.
Yeah. No, but it's. I mean, if you like Harry Potter, I feel like the show feels like Harry Potter
with an Addams Family.
With
twist.
Addams Family, but there's there's like the groups at the school they go to. It's like Hogwarts, and there's like Gryffindor, and there's like these different, but it's like werewolves, vampires, sirens.
I was mildly surprised. I didn't expect because one, I feel like Addams Family's overplayed now, and two, Tim Burton, after Dumbo, I just have no faith in him anymore. But I watched it and I was like, oh no,
I haven't seen it all. I've seen 3 episodes, but we've enjoyed it.
Like you said, I'm not saying it's devoid of anything woke, but
yeah. But I know there's
almost a given.
There's a certain group of people that are kind of pissed that 2 of the main characters don't end up together as a gay couple.
Yeah,
and I've read that they don't come together in that way, that they actually get into relationships of their own, normal relationships.
Sick of that. It's like freaking
but the LGBTQ community is mad because they think they were baited into believing that was the way the show was going to go.
Oh gosh, see, this is what I'm talking about. And honestly, that's the only thing that I have a problem with, and this will be the last thing I say because we got so much news. Oscar noms dropped today. We got a review of one of the Best Picture noms that got released. And again, just to give everybody a heads up, Oscar nom coverage. We're officially we're gonna probably run through some of it. Mostly, there were no surprises.
We're not gonna.
We have a few snubs we're gonna talk about
and name every single nominee. That's just.
But remember,
we learned our lesson on that.
Pre-Oscar show is our ultimate, like where we decide what we think will win and what we want to win. That's when we rack up the points and whatnot coming up, and who's gonna slap who. But no, the final point I wanted to say on the streaming.
Can we do that?
What?
Can we film that? Like the losers get slapped?
I mean, like Will Smith?
Like, no, physically, like losers get slapped.
I'm okay with that. That's fine with me. Yeah, I'm cool with that.
The winner gets to slap the losers?
Let's do it. Sean's
not agreeing to this.
He's not liking
like
us.
Yeah.
I don't
Straight
know if
up,
I'm okay with
Will
that.
Smith to Chris Rock.
He doesn't want to get slapped.
No.
You think you're going to lose? You've won
That's
the
fine.
last 2 years.
I don't think I have.
Yes, you have.
He won 1 year, but I don't think he won last year.
The last 2
I
years,
thought he won last year.
I don't know.
Edged out. I don't know. All I know is that I do feel like what ticks me off about Velma is while it's garbage, it shifts the Overton window to where, we don't want to go full woke, but see this other stuff that we've kind of been pushing, so you're okay with that now. And I can't get on board with that. So I'm willing to call it out whenever it happens.
Whoever loses has to
even if
shave
it's lightly
their beard.
woke.
Oh, no, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think that's fair.
Oh, that was a good one.
What'd he say?
He said whoever loses has to shave.
I'll shave my beard.
I have had this thing for like 3-4 years now.
And
I'll just lose
one of my
deliberately so that I
goals
can
this year
shave.
was to lose weight and just get rid of it finally because it's not. Look at this. It's patchy.
It looks good.
I go.
There's nothing wrong with your beard.
No, but I'm getting
You're just
tired
being
of it.
self-conscious.
And and I'm fat. It has the neck fat.
It does. That's why I keep mine. It keeps my double chin from showing.
Maybe
Alrighty, guys.
I'll keep mine too then.
No. I mean,
We weren't saying you were fat.
I'll shave if we lose. I'm okay with that.
But let's get into the show.
Let's
We
do
of
it.
course have our Oscar noms
Yeah,
coming out.
Just jump into that review.
One of the reviews that is the best picture nom for the year, or one of them,
Clark?
is Everything
Absolutely.
Everywhere All at Once. And here is our review.
Sums it up.
Highly praised and one of the most talked about films of the year, Everything Everywhere All at Once has already amassed quite a few awards and is poised to maybe win a few Oscars. With the nominees being announced today, we decided to finally check out the movie many are calling the best film of the year. Directed by Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, the duo behind Swiss Army Man, Everything Everywhere All at Once is equally as bizarre and abstract as their last outing, though it has garnered way more attention. Starring Michelle Yeoh as Evelyn Wang, who runs and co-owns a laundromat with her husband Waymond, played by Ke Huy Quan. Evelyn's father is visiting for Chinese New Year, on top of their laundromat being audited by the IRS. When on the way to a meeting with their auditor, Deidre, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, Waymond's body is taken over by an alternate version of himself from another universe. This alternate, who goes by Alpha Waymond, reveals to Evelyn the existence of a multiverse, explaining that she is the key to stopping a great threat to the multiverse, known as Jobu Tupaki. Everything Everywhere All at Once lives up to its name, both intentionally and in ways that its directors may not have intended. With an attempt at making an offbeat comedy fused with sci-fi that is attempting to explore deep themes and emotion, the movie touches on nihilistic and cynical ideals that nothing in a vast multiverse where everything is random and anything can happen matters, only to flip the script with an emphasis on what matters are our choices. It speaks about objective truth, but skirts around the fact that if there is a constant objective truth throughout all realities, then there has to be a deeper meaning to life, and ultimately settles on the very idea of everything but the kitchen sink. Everything Everywhere All at Once is taken literally. Everything is always happening everywhere all the time, which would be true in a multiverse, so nothing we do really matters or has purpose, which means everything we do, aka our choices, is what matters most. It's a nice sentiment, and I would agree our choices most certainly do matter, but they matter because life does have purpose. The film's message amounts to sentimental hogwash in the end. Do what makes you happy because that's all that matters. But if life has no purpose, why would our choices actually matter? With that said, it's not surprising based on the values depicted why critics and potential Oscar voters have coalesced upon this film. It, however, was also well liked by audiences, at least those who have seen it. And I admit there are aspects about it I too enjoyed. I thought as a plot device, the film handles the idea of a multiverse much better than we've seen on screen so far from the likes of Marvel. Aspects of Evelyn and Waymond's relationship are well done, and the best emotional parts of the film, even when the movie's themes threaten to derail their emotional arc. Evelyn's relationship with her daughter, unfortunately, all but is derailed by the themes, but even its plot points have some nice moments. The comedy sometimes is over the top, but there are many times that I did laugh, and Michelle Yeoh and Ke Huy Quan's performances are worthy of the awards they've been nominated and given so far. On top of the film's technical aspects from camera work to set designs, the film is fantastically made. All in all, despite what makes the film unique, it's still a movie with a message that falls hollow, hoping its feel-good ideals will tug enough people's heartstrings to fool them into thinking the movie is deeper than it actually is. While it is A24's most successful film to date, it is still more of a niche film that will appeal more to the art house crowd than I think widespread audiences. While not as insufferably pretentious as other films this past year, it's still the reoccurring theme amongst Oscar favorites, a movie that thinks itself wise and full of universal messages while being as edifying as eating styrofoam peanuts. I give Everything Everywhere All at Once 2.5 out of 4 stars.
Now, what's funny is during this review, I kind of thought, wow, you were being more cruel than what your final score would lead you to believe was,
Well, because the problems I have with I like I said, I do like the abstract humor, even though I think they go too far especially towards the end, because it can be funny, but when you start getting just abstract for abstract's sake, like it gets to a point where it's like, well, now you're just doing this because anything could happen, and that's no longer humorous. And then I really, especially the way the movie started. Like the first half hour, I was like, okay, yeah, this is definitely. I understand why they like some of this is popular right now. And I did like the relationship angle between her and her husband and a lot of stuff that played there, but I felt like they just dropped the ball on it in the end with that too. Mainly because the whole message really just drops the ball. And I get the idea of if there's a multiverse and everything happens because like any minuscule choice you make could lead to any offshoot, which is like Star Trek has that, Marvel. That's the idea of a multiverse. I get it. So it's like anything can happen based on a single decision. So they're like, well, if everything's random, then nothing matters. And then of course their message is, well, if nothing, that's the golden that I hear from pretty much agnostics and atheists everywhere. Well, if nothing we do matters, then what matters is what we do.
Yeah.
And they act like it's this prolific thing. And I'm like, I agree. Yes, our choices matter. Absolutely. That is a thing. But there's a reason why our choices matter. And to me, to say that, well, the only reason our choices matter is because there is no purpose, so we need to be kind to each other. It's like, I don't disagree that we need to be kind to each other, but it also feels a little disingenuous to say that, because to me, I would be like, why? And they're like, well, you shouldn't need a God to tell you to be good to people. Like, you're such a bad person that you need a higher authority to tell you to be good. It's like,
let alone when you take God out of everything, morality completely.
Well,
and honestly,
and I hate that argument.
Well, it's funny because I feel like a lot of, kind of going back to what you said in the review about the pretentious message of a lot of these films. I mean, even just Babylon, what we reviewed last week, there's so many different films that are based on this foundation of a moral viewpoint. They already expect the viewer to come in and have, just as, just by cultural, influence alone. And so I think it's funny that you already presuppose that everybody's coming at it from the starting point, only to then tear down that argument by saying, but we could get rid of all that. Yeah. And ultimately in the end, love matters, because you kind of see that with the kind of makeshift message that you get from her falling back in love with her husband wanting to divorce her because she's just not herself anymore, and then the love of the woman with the daughter, and it's like, it's okay, I love you for who you are, and yet at the same time, and she feels like she is distraught because she doesn't get any support from her parents, and they don't really understand how she feels. And I'm like,
have this like lack of love from her father.
Yeah,
that's almost disappointed that he had a daughter.
Yeah. Well, and I do have a problem with the love angle too, because like they make the point of everything's random, so nothing matters. But then across every single universe, we see her and her husband like reconnect in this way. So it's like, okay, but
they're destined to end up together.
But what you're showing there is an objective truth that's happening across every single universe, which means that not everything is random then, because there is an objective truth.
Well, and that I think they wouldn't disagree. I think that was the kind of the point of everywhere, everything, all at once. Is that there are certain definite things that will always come to pass regardless of where you're at.
I agree, but I think that defeats the purpose of, there is no meaning in life.
It starts with, it's trying to give off this nihilistic worldview, and then, like he said, that kind of defeats that argument that you're trying to present from the beginning in every universe that they go through, which this was one movie that I had a terrible time following this movie. I'm just going to be honest with you.
It's a little jarring, especially from the very get-go.
Oh my gosh!
The pace sets and it just keeps going.
Oh no, it does not stop.
Yeah,
it was. What was it? The runtime was it was over 2 hours.
2:19.
It was too long.
I mean, it was
way
just
too long.
like, wow, what are we doing? And it was one absurdity beaten by the next absurdity beat the previous one. It was just like, how absurd can we make this film? And it was like one thing, let's just go a step further and make it even more ridiculous. And I mean, I didn't think that was entirely to a fault. There were some things that I found extremely funny because of how bizarre it was, but then there were some things that were so bizarre that I was just like, this is just
the point
stupid.
of this?
Yeah, I don't get this at all. Like I don't know what they're going for here.
No, I completely agree. I ultimately fell down on 2 stars out of 4 is where I came down on. It's funny though because even with the messaging and the themes that I thought were, I actually enjoyed most of the filmmaking aspect and the editing and the spastic nature.
Technically, it's well done.
Yeah,
Right.
especially for a low budget. It was like $25 million, I think was the budget.
Yeah, which is insane.
And it
I
made
over 100.
It made over 100. Yeah. So it was a success.
Yeah, it was a success.
But it's like I enjoyed those aspects of the film. I thought the editing was great. I thought the production design was good. I thought
choreography.
The choreography.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem I had was not really the pacing of like I get what they were going for and how some people may just be turned off by it in the first 10 minutes. They may just say, okay, this movie's not for me. It jumps around too much. It's too spastic. I was thoroughly enthralled with what's going on here, and it was kind of a mystery laid out as to what I had no idea, no inclination of what this movie was about going into it. And then as it started to unfold, I kept wanting to know more. But then after I got the general purpose of what the multiverse was and how she's split, I thought it was creative how they introduced it. And like you say in the review, I thought it was awesome how you saw the different universes blended together and told through different perspectives. Way more elaborate than what I feel like Multiverse of Madness tried to do, and just
it handled
we're
the
just going to
multiverse
do
better in my opinion.
I agree, which is funny because that's like a whole property and thematic plot point of
Phase
all of Marvel's phase.
Yeah, this next arc.
Yeah, so I thought it was kind of funny that they have a movie that does it better emotionally to some degree. With regards to the runtime, I don't think it was necessarily the first half of the film that was long. It was more so the second half in the conclusion. At first, it came to a point where I thought it was going to end, and they did a nice little kind of bait and switch, which I appreciated, because if it ended on the note that I thought it was going to end on, I was going to be like, oh, this is god-awful.
Yeah.
And that was the part where she almost kind of succumbs to the nihilistic of, like, nothing matters.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it kind of does the pivot and the turn to, oh, no. These things always still led back to a certain... that profound, but this was always meant to be, and you were destined to choose this path, and love wins the day. But then ultimately that drawing out and that conclusion of how there's peace in all of these different multiverses that she finds, whether it's her weird hot dog finger relationship with Jamie Lee Curtis, whether it's her with her daughter in the present day, or the husband or the father even in present day accepting the gay daughter. I'm like, there were just so many elements where I'm like, okay, these are modern, present issues that you're trying to thrust into. I mean, even the daughter presents at one moment. She's just like, you're still hung up on the whole, there's gay, like homosexuality in these universes. Like, come on, there's bigger things going on. Blah, blah. Like, just write it off. Like, forget it. And that's where I just
at that
like.
point that would be true, but I don't. But I don't agree. I don't agree.
Well, no, but I think that's the falsehood that the premise of the movie's based on, which is there are certain things, like you said, objectively in the reality, you can only suspend disbelief to a certain extent until you get abstract enough to where, okay, the connections you make or the profound, ridiculous, artistic things that you start to go out on a limb and showcase, I immediately start to then back that up with, okay, but now, like you said, you could make this anything. It could be all these absurd different. So why you went this direction still doesn't prove any kind of like profound nature or newfound meaning that I've ever heard with regards to human nature.
I find it funny because it is a thing that it's them trying to find meaning and making up their own meaning, and it's like, well, what is missing in you that you're trying to search for this meaning in the first place, and you keep refusing the truth because you don't want to accept the truth, so you're making up your own meaning of, well, there is no meaning but except for this, this, and this.
And the only jumping off point for that
If
in
there's
that
no
regard,
meaning, then there shouldn't be anything missing.
Yeah.
Well, but that's again the jumping
Why
off
do you
point
have a hole?
that they have was
Yeah.
that she was this key to some kind of way to connect to all the different multiverses. So that was her initial, the main character's initial foray into why she should care, and she wanted to just find. She thought she was this linchpin, but then it becomes, oh no, your linchpin is just that you were able to connect all these universes, but ultimately that all of them happen everywhere, everything all at once, and they all have their own, their own profound nature of rules and what you set and how you follow them. And I don't know, again, there's so much to impact there, and you could walk away with so many different messages. And I could see how some people could easily watch this and be like, wow, that was just amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, trust me, there was a good
it's got a popular
5-10 minutes.
Score
I know.
too. Yeah.
There was a good 5-10 minutes after it wrapped that I was like, I don't know how to think about this. I really don't. I mean, like, there were some emotional moments that hit, but overall, I didn't like it. Overall, I didn't have any kind of draw towards any particular character. I came out, and that's why I had to go middle of the road. I was like, I don't agree with certain themes. And then I ultimately was like, as much as I liked some of the comedy and the, like, I loved even some of the Raccoony.
Oh, yeah.
That was hilarious.
Raccoonie was
Raccoonie was good.
It was weird, but I was like, that's good. That's good.
And that was the perfect kind of humor that I'm like, okay, you're fitting this into it's like hilariously goofy, and then it's semi-serious, and then it's like you're crying over a freaking puppet raccoon.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was funny. It was good. I thought that was well
I think
done.
what made that scene, though, was the fact that they, like, and granted, it was low budget, but the fact that they embraced that and it looked so bad. Because it's not like they tried to sell it.
Absolutely.
I loved just how jankety that thing looked.
Yeah. What's funny, I was reading some things about the film, and one of the things that I read was it was a discussion with the directors, and I'm misquoting them, but they were both saying that basically they were showing that they could make a movie that rivaled that of the Marvel universe, but they were making it on a low budget. And some of the things that they talk about go into some of the poor visual effects and then some of the good visual effects. But they basically said, like, because they do compare it to Multiverse of Madness, and they said, we're showing that we can make a blockbuster film with blockbuster action from beginning to end on this budget, where Marvel is spending $200 million on the same thing.
I think they pulled that off.
True.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a blockbuster at $100 million, but I agree that that
compared to what they spent on it.
Yes,
right.
True, absolutely true. and granted, it also doesn't have the wide mass appeal.
They didn't say
say
blockbuster. They said the blockbuster action. And this is a
the
movie that you
the
would
fighting
think.
choreography was great.
Oh, yeah.
Which, I mean,
Yeah.
Michelle Yeoh is obviously someone who's already, like, she was in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, so she's someone who's familiar with fight choreography. Yeah, Short Round.
Short Round from Indiana Jones.
Ke Huy Quan, yeah. And I don't. It's fun. We'll get into the nominees later because everybody.
That was my next
Was
question.
nominated.
Do you think this deserves a nomination?
I understand why it got it.
Yes.
I obviously am not pulling for this to win. I honestly would not be surprised if it did win. I hope it doesn't, because I think, to me, this is another movie that I think will be completely forgotten about in 5-10 years' time. Nobody will remember this film.
The reason I think this is a front runner is because, one, it does have, like, good audience scores, like but people who have seen it. Because let's be fair here, it's not a movie that has been, like, $100 million is great on the budget, but that's not a movie that's been seen by the amount of people that have seen something like Avatar or Top Gun.
Yeah.
And I do think mass audiences of that magnitude, like, if people hear about this movie, if it wins Best Picture, and people go to check it out, like, yeah, let's see that. I think a lot of people are going to come off kind of like we are, like, what the heck did I just watch?
Yeah. No, I agree. I think I talked to you about that. As much as it's successful in terms of even looking at the Rotten Tomato score, I think
it does have over 1,000 ratings on there. But
yeah,
again,
but again, you're talking about people who go out of their way to see films and critique them.
I'm not arguing. I'm just saying I'm going to
average audiences are not going to show up to the theater for that. I mean, that's part and parcel why it made $100 million at the box office. And again, I'm not trying to throw criticism in that regard. It's just a film that doesn't reach a lot of people. And while there every once in a while well, I was going to say, while there every once in a while there are those indie flicks that kind of they have the small push in the box office, but enough people see them outside of outside the theater or after it's won, and they pick it up on the store shelf, and they're like, "Wow, this is actually really good."
Came out of nowhere, but I honestly feel RRR reached way more audiences than this did.
Talk about a snub.
Yes.
Yep.
And it's one
best
of those
original
things,
song is not all it deserved.
Yeah. Well, they didn't submit it at all for Best Foreign Film, which I think is a shame. But I do think it was eligible for Best Picture, which it didn't get nominated too. So.
I would have picked that over, Women Talking.
Well, that one's
like purely political.
So that one I knew, like, they've been talking about that one for a long time too.
Elvis, I would have picked it over Elvis.
I haven't even heard of the
Triangle of Sadness.
Yeah, I've never even heard of that.
Same. I haven't heard of that.
But it has Woody Harrelson. I looked it up afterwards. It has Woody Harrelson in it, so I'll probably check it out. But
Well, we always try to review, or
yeah,
at
no,
least
I'm going to. There's only
watch
4
all
we
of
haven't
the
seen so far. So
Tar is one.
Tar, Triangle,
Banshees,
Women Talking, and
yeah,
Banshees.
Yep.
I've heard great things about Banshees.
I have
too. Yeah.
I'm hoping that's the one, because that's what I meant. Sometimes like Coda last year. Sometimes there's the ones like Everything Everywhere that like get all these nominations and it'll win like awards in every category, and you're thinking, oh, that's the one the Academy's going to go with. It has massive, but then they'll pull out some surprise one like Coda, and I'm like. That's the only thing I could see is if there was a surprise like something like Banshees won because it legitimately deserves it. But I haven't seen the movie yet to know that.
I was going to say, I could see, especially with regard to, I mean, Everything Everywhere All at Once walked away with 11 noms.
Yeah.
So usually when you have that high, I don't think unless you are truly across the board, like
Unless you're Lord of the Rings, you're not getting
Titanic, Ben-Hur. There's only 3 in the category that have walked away with all the. Like you said, I think it's going to walk away with some acting wins, but when it gets to the major category, it's not. It's going to come up short because you have to have the whole Academy on board.
Yeah.
And I just don't know if the whole Academy is going to vote for that. I don't see Top Gun winning, even though I
so
would be
far
fine
that
with
is
that.
the one that I think deserves it. But again, I haven't seen Banshees yet. But out of all the ones I've seen,
And we all know that Top Gun, we've kind of gone into headlines here a little bit. Maybe I should just roll the open. And let's just do it.
Yeah,
I was going to say, let's just talk about Oscar noms since they've come out. We'll give our opinion of those. So, yeah, I mean, kind of...
it's the Oscars. I had to.
I know. I think I posted on Twitter. I was just like, every year I posted it with the live stream. I was like, every year we look forward to these with disdain. Every time they're noms.
Actually, there was a time when I genuinely looked forward to hearing the nominations. I looked forward to watching the award ceremony. I mean, because I love filmmaking. I love films and movies. And it's just one of those things now that. Look, the last decade, we've talked about several times on the show, we've gone through nominees over the last several decades. And not last several. Wow. We haven't been doing it that long.
Several decades? I'm at the few decades right now, not several.
The last few years,
I was coming out of my mom's birth canal with a microphone ready to go.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah.
Charging through.
But my point is that the films that have been nominated within the last decade, not decades, have been just movies that nobody gives a crap about.
Yeah, true. Well, and I think that says something more about the institution of film and where we've come. And even this year, we kind of already stated, it's like there's not really any huge surprises with the categories. Like there weren't anything that I was more surprised by some of the snubs. I mean, we got Nope wasn't nominated for anything, which is very surprising. Triple R we just talked about wasn't nominated for anything but Best Original Song. Mia Goth and Pearl was a huge upset. And I know some people would be like, well, who saw that? And I'm like, but that's the problem. There are so many untapped but amazing performances. You'll get someone like Brendan Fraser who gets praised for a mediocre film because of his return to acting. And I haven't seen the movie. I haven't seen his performance.
Maybe he's phenomenal, but
Maybe
still.
he knocked it out of the park. But when you have someone that was in a semi-popular film like Pearl and X who played 2 different characters but on 2 different ends of the spectrum and was amazing in both roles, but Pearl was by far the most outstanding. The one monologue scene, I remember watching it, and I said, if she doesn't get a nom for this alone, that's criminal.
Oh, because the Academy members aren't watching these films. And you have the few like Martin Scorsese who actually will check it out and be like, oh no, that was great. But I think the vast majority of like, especially the major ones, I mentioned this in the text you all earlier, actors, directors, producers, they'll watch the ones that they're told to watch, like, oh, these are the Oscar contenders, and they'll watch them and vote on them, but they're not actually checking out every film of the year that might actually deserve it. I think, like I said, if you only let the behind the scenes people vote, the nominees would look completely different than they do now when you include actors, directors, and producers who are more concerned about the agenda than actually watching these niche films and seeing, oh, this is actually better than all the garbage that's getting mainstream coverage.
And that's one of the things that we have talked about. We've been talking about it for years, but even you texted it today, I think, that there most certainly is an agenda. Like I think
I was
at this
jokingly
point,
saying I don't even think they voted anymore.
I think at this point,
the Illuminati.
I think at this point though, you can tell by the nominations that there's really the push for picking films that fit those certain agendas or that speak those certain messages that they're looking for are the only ones that have a chance.
Yeah.
Anymore, the really good movies, again, like Top Gun, to me, it's a great movie. I would love for it to get Best Picture. Is it a Saving Private Ryan?
No.
Is it a La La Land, which should have won Best Picture?
It did.
No, it's not. It's a good movie. It's
When
one
I
of the
say
best
it's
movies of the
films
year.
This year, that
Yes.
doesn't mean it compares to past.
Right, yeah, but in the running, it is one of the better films, and it's not going to stand a chance against these other films.
But
It's there.
It's sad that we know, having covered this for as long as we have, even from when we were teenagers and would watch, you knew which films would get the nom. I mean, the whole reason, and we brought it up countless times on the show, they went from five Best Picture noms to 10 was because of the year that Dark Knight got snubbed.
Yeah.
And it was the highest grossing film of that year. You had a Best Supporting Actor nom and win with Heath Ledger,
Yep.
and it was a great movie. I would agree. I loved Top Gun, but I almost knew that it was like the winning of Top Gun as Best Picture was it getting nominated. That was the win for it. Hey, we're included in the conversation.
Yeah.
But I was actually surprised it didn't get nominated for cinematography.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, you shot not only those beautiful scenes and the dog fights, but you also had like thousands of hours of footage to sift through to create what you got on screen. Beautiful IMAX cameras used to shoot the film, the footage that you saw. I mean, just ultimately, it's like, really? And it didn't even get in that category?
Yeah.
And granted, not to say the others don't deserve a nom, but it's just like there are certain... Elvis getting nominated as much as it did, I was surprised by. I honestly thought that one was going to be the one that would be Oscar baity and get pushed to the side of like just didn't quite cut it. Yeah,
No.
he is. But yeah, no, I thought Austin Butler definitely deserves the nom. I honestly think. I haven't seen Banshees, but I've heard a lot of good things about Colin Farrell.
Well, all of the best.
This was interesting.
All 5 of the actors nominated for best lead actor they've never been nominated before. So I was just like, that's impressive.
That is.
So, and we'll see. I have heard great things about Colin Farrell's performance as well.
Well, he was. The film is by the same guy who did In Bruges, and both of those actors are in that film as well, and that was an amazing movie.
Okay.
If you've never seen In Bruges, you've got to see
Actually,
that.
somebody at work
It
told
is
me
a
to check that one
fantastic
out,
movie.
and I told him I hadn't seen it because he brought that up when
I was
talking
trying
about
to pull it up. I didn't know
One
if
of
you
my
wanted
favorite
to
movies.
read off at least the best picture nominees. My iPad was acting weird, but now it's loaded.
Yeah, sure.
So,
Well, let's do do best picture and best. Let's do the 4 main ones:
Okay.
best actor, actress, directing, and picture. We'll at least do those. We'll
Okay,
cover those 4. But yeah, we'll start with.
start from the bottom
yeah,
up.
sure,
So
let's-
I'm on directing. I don't know if y'all want to pull it up, but I can go.
Go
through.
ahead and read them. Yeah,
For best director, Martin McDonough for The Banshees of Inisherin. Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert for Everything Everywhere All at Once. And by the way, I did not know until before I saw the movie, until I went to write the review, that's also the 2 that directed Swiss Army Man. And
yeah.
I've
one that I've heard that we've
reviewed it.
seen.
What?
No, there's another movie that they.
I don't
did
know. I
that
just
was,
as soon as I read that, I was like, that makes more sense now.
Yeah.
The-
Swiss Army Man was off the wall too.
But I actually enjoyed it.
It was
Yeah,
better.
yeah.
Yeah, Swiss
I
Army
thought it
Man
was better.
That was the type of abstract that was funny but didn't go it had a purpose. It wasn't. Yeah, but anyways, Steven Spielberg, of course, for The Fabelmans. I'm not surprised by that.
I just real quick, I think The Fabelmans is getting nominated as like a labor of love to Spielberg
Yes.
and what he. But it's
not.
It's purely establishment purposes.
Yes.
It's not. He's not going to win anything.
Yep, I agree. Todd Field for Tar, and then Ruben Östlund for Triangle of Sadness. And again, I'm like, I haven't seen 2 of those movies, Tar or Triangle of Sadness, but that just there's a lot of movies that kind of jump out to me that I'm like, the most popular
I'll tell you what I
films
saw
are
after this released, and I can tell you because we're covering this category.
that there were no women.
no women directors.
Yeah,
I
I've seen
did-
that. I've
Oscar
also-
so male.
I didn't know. I didn't
There's
pay
no
any
black
attention to that
actors
until
nominated
somebody.
for
So
the best actor.
Hey,
either.
quick! One of the Daniels needs to transition.
yeah. Well, it's funny because that actually has been a complaint, is that the nominees this year are not as diverse as they were last year, and that's to me a problem. It's like, so we have to be more diverse each year, because then at some point, again, you're just nominating for diversity's sake. But
And like they would argue against that.
I know,
That's
I know.
purely their agenda.
So, actress in a leading role, Kate Blanchett in Tar, which I have heard she was phenomenal. I haven't seen
The
it yet.
one scene that circulated on Twitter looked amazing.
And she's a good actress. So,
Yep.
I mean, I'm not going to argue that one yet. Anna de Armas in Blonde, I don't know about that one. I haven't seen it.
The female version of Brendan Fraser in The Well.
Yes.
Terrible movie. Great, great great performance.
Andrea Riseborough in To Leslie. I don't know what that is.
She was she was in Oblivion. That's where I've seen her from.
But I mean, I don't know what
She's
To
the
Leslie
redheaded.
is. Like, I
haven't
haven't
heard of that.
Michelle Williams in The Fabelmans, which I don't agree with that either.
Nope.
And then Michelle Yeoh in Everything Everywhere All at Once. Which
That one I'm okay
That
with.
one's
Yeah.
understandable.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
She did an amazing job in that movie.
Actor in a leading role. I can't talk today.
Man.
Austin Butler, Elvis. Colin Farrell, Banshees of Inisherin. Brendan Fraser in The Well. Paul Mescal in After Sun, which I don't know what that is either. And Bill Nye in Living.
I'm not seeing. I don't even
I
know
don't-
Bill
yeah,
Nye and Living.
There's 4
I know who
movies
Bill
I
Nye
haven't
is.
seen
I
right
mean,
there.
but I like him. He's a good actor, but I'm not heard
Actually,
of
and this
Living.
is one of the first years in a while where I've probably seen more of the female actress performances than I have the male.
Yeah, honestly.
Austin Butler I've seen, but I haven't seen any of the others. And truth be told, I've heard Colin. I think it's truthfully between Colin Farrell and Austin Butler in that category. I know Brendan Fraser's been the early push ever since his comeback. He won the Golden Globe.
Yeah.
I believe he won the Golden Globe.
I thought he did.
I thought he also won the SAG Award. I may be wrong on that.
He won one of them, I'm pretty
We need
sure
to look
about.
that
I think he got the Golden Globe.
because
but-
Well, it's
either
funny 'cause
way,
he,
I honestly don't know if it. I don't know. I haven't seen the performance, but right now I'm sticking with Austin
I
Butler
plan
just
on-
because I think that was the one bright spot of
Yeah.
Elvis.
If I could find a way to see The Well, I do plan on seeing it before the Oscars, but I mean, I'm not particularly looking forward to it. And then Best Picture nominees.
yeah, let's run through those.
All Quiet on the Western Front.
was
Avatar,
okay.
Yeah. Avatar The Way of Water. The Banshees of Inisherin. Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once. The Fabelmans. Tar, Top Gun Maverick. Triangle of Sadness, and Women Talking.
Yeah, Women Talking was the only one that was like obviously
That
they
one
threw that in
definitely
there.
jumped out, for whatever reasons. I don't really know what Triangle of Sadness is about, so I can't say that.
Yeah.
I do kind of understand why All Quiet was nominated, but I don't really like. It was good. I liked it. I don't feel it's the best picture though. But
No, and ultimately I do get it. It was hugely praised not only in Europe but the BAFTAs.
Oh, yeah, it got all
awarded
kinds of
it
BAFTA nominations.
It
I don't
nominated
know-
it heavily.
Yeah.
But I also think it's interesting because it got nominated for some things that I also just didn't. I hated the score.
Yeah.
It got nominated for original score.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I have no
I hated
idea.
that.
It was terrible. Yeah.
But there were certain parts where cinematography it absolutely deserves. It was a gorgeous film,
yeah.
Beautifully shot. But again, my only problem with that is I'm like, we've seen All Quiet. It's the same movie. Not bad. It's a good adaptation in a modern era, but I'm like, I'd still love the 1930s version, and I
Yeah.
think it holds up really great, and it won Best Picture back then.
The idea of because I don't disagree that the original All Quiet is a movie that can't be remade. Like I think you can remake it and make it great, because that's why the book was praised, because it was the first time there had ever been anything that actually depicted the grittiness and horrible nature of war, and the book was very popular because it was truthful. And the 1930 movie, being the time period, is a little bit less. It's not gritty or as harsh because they didn't depict that on film back then. And for me, that's the purpose of remaking it, is to get like the quality of Saving Private Ryan, but with the story of All Quiet on the Western Front. And I just, after seeing like Saving Private Ryan or 1917, it's like this just doesn't hit that level.
One scene in particular in that film, because we reviewed it, and we gave it a favorable review.
Yeah, I didn't dislike the movie.
No, not at all. But one scene in particular that I thought the 1930s version did better than this one was the scene where he finds the soldier in the foxhole, or in the, not really a foxhole, but in the crater from a bomb. Yeah. And I'm just like, he's sitting there and he has to kill him because otherwise he's going to get killed. And it's only when he's killing him and he finds the pamphlet of the family and like realizing, okay, he's just fighting because he was told to, and orders just like me. That to me was a more heartfelt, more emotional moment in the original than in this remake. Yeah. And I didn't mind it. I just didn't think it impacted as much. And I don't know. Again, it's just one of those films where I'm like, it's not that I thought it was bad. I feel like it's getting the noms because of the subject material and the way in which it was created and the
German.
direction.
It was a book written by because I mean the story is all German. I mean the original book came from Germany, so I feel like it really is kind of getting kudos to it's authentic because an actual German director made it and it's in German and it's like but it's maybe authentic to the fact that it's in German, but it still doesn't have that
it
level
still has
of
to stand on its own.
Yeah,
It can't just be those,
and
those things.
it's almost like it's the only diversity pick for a white person because it's German. It's like we got to compliment him because it's that.
Did he
culture.
get nominated for Best Foreign
No,
Language?
well, I don't think the production was even though it's a German director and it
Can
was
they
filmed in
not? But
German.
also, can they do that?
I think it has to be the production has to be paid for because I think it is still a Hollywood production, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Because I think in
Well,
order
what
for
are
it to
the
be
foreign films? What are?
Oh, it's
you don't
not
have to read them, but
nominated.
it's not nominated for foreign
I'm pretty sure
language?
it's not.
Or not foreign language. It's just foreign film.
Yeah,
anymore.
I think it has to be entirely produced from
I
a
thought
foreign
it was.
company.
I don't think it was produced by.
Really?
You're talking about international
Sure.
feature film? All Quiet is on there.
Is it okay? Then yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I wasn't sure. I didn't know if it was.
So it
like
could
a
win
German
Best
production.
Picture and see that's one where I think it's going to walk away with international.
See, that's.
It's not going to walk away with Best Picture.
Yeah, that really bugs me knowing that it's like RRR. Which
I know.
granted, I
I'm
know. International film they couldn't because they didn't nominate it. Like they didn't put it forward.
They wanted it for Best Picture.
You have to submit to be nominated. And well, India only does so many films, and whoever's in charge of making those decisions didn't pick RRR to be.
But I also think it's
because
interesting.
they did submit nominees.
Really quick, I know we didn't cover it, but also interesting. I think this will be the 1 year, and I think it was kind of, one area where I was happy with Hollywood, thinking they were kind of giving a jab to Disney, but the animated film Lightyear and Strange World totally tanked.
I didn't
They
expect
didn't
them
get
to get
noms.
nominated.
Turning Red got a nom, and even it wasn't favored. So I really think Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is going to win it in that category.
Yeah, I was trying to pull because I don't remember all the nominees for that one. I was trying to pull that back up, but I
think it's funny that Puss in Boots is on there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I will say it may not be the best. The animation in the movie is
phenomenal.
It's great.
It looks I could
It's
tell from
very-
the trailers it
it's
looks
very
really nice. The Sea Beast I have not seen, but I've heard it's amazing. It's on Netflix, but again I don't know. And then of course
The Marcel
the Shell with Shoes On actually is really good. Phenomenal film. I understand why it's nominated animated.
It's not really animated,
But it's like
so it's kind of half and half.
It's because I think the role is 70% of like the main characters on screen, like or more, have to be animated. So technically they are because it's the stop motion shells for the majority of the movie.
Gotcha.
But they're still in a live action world, and there's live like real people that interact with the shells. So I'm like, this is kind of weird because. If this is considered animated, then Disney's The Lion King is 100% animated, the CGI version.
True,
I'm
it's not
sorry.
live
Yeah,
action.
so
right.
it's one of those things where the distinctions are so weird with the Academy.
Which
like,
it didn't get nominated for anything anyway.
No, because it's garbage. But it's just one of those things where I'm like, I don't know that I view.
But I do think it was interesting that in a year where you still had 2 Pixar releases and 1 Disney animated release, that really Turning Red, which still also wasn't favorably reviewed by most people, it got okay noms. But the fact that they just threw it in there, it's like I think they're honestly, this is the 1 year where they barely got a nom,
Disney didn't
and they're
make
not going to win.
They didn't make a good movie this year.
Nope.
They had 3 releases.
And they could all blame it on Bob Chapek.
Yeah.
That's what they'll do.
I think-
Homophobia is what they'll blame it on.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't see any way Pinocchio doesn't walk away with the win this year.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but it's just the art style in that was absolutely tremendous. It was amazing.
I think it
the
deserves
story
it, yeah.
alone, also, I thought it was very well done. Definitely a great movie. You can check that out. On
I know
Netflix.
we're not trying to get into all of them, but I just want to talk about how ridiculous it is that Angela Bassett did get a nod. Like,
Yeah,
I know
mean,
she's been getting other noms. Like, I know she got the Golden Globe. Did she get nominated this SAGs? I don't remember.
I don't.
It's one of those things
No.
where I'm just like, why? Like, I don't like.
We know why.
I know why.
We know why.
I fully know why.
They
but
literally almost all the categories Wakanda Forever got nominated in. It was like you're throwing them a bone. That's it. It's so stupid. It's like, come on. And we know that freaking Marvel and Disney pushed it.
And I'm
They
not saying
wanted to
she
go
was
on-
bad. She wasn't bad. She just didn't do anything. Like Jamie Lee Curtis.
I don't.
She's nominated. They didn't do anything that any other actress couldn't have done in those roles. Like Jamie Lee Curtis's role in that movie could have been played by anyone exactly the same.
Agreed.
In my opinion.
But we're going to talk more about Oscars as it gets closer to the actual airing of the telecast, and we're going to have our picks of who we want to win, and who we think will win.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
What else we got to talk about?
We got one more headline to talk about, and it, of course, is the big news. We didn't mean to bury the lead. We talked about it for over a year, and finally, Alec Baldwin is charged with manslaughter. Let's talk about it.
And
he will be criminally charged.
Fight it,
Absolutely, they
and
will.
he'll probably get off. But
Yep.
shame.
Well, let's dive into that a little bit. So you all think he's going to get off. I am hoping that the DA has enough evidence. This is the one time, for one, I think it's criminal. Funny he's getting criminally charged. He settled the civil lawsuit with her husband, her widower.
Yeah.
But now the criminal charges have come out. They say they have enough evidence to pursue this to give him not only recklessly handling a gun on set,
Which is
absolutely true, but if he does take this to trial and he does push it, it could be that not only a jury convicts him, but that the maximum amount of penalty will be 18 months in prison.
Yeah.
And I think he should spend every single one of those months in prison.
That's the thing. It's not that I don't think he'll get off scot clean, but I think everything will get reduced down to where he doesn't serve any jail time.
Oh yeah.
And that's what pisses me off. He'll get convicted, and then they'll be
and
like,
what,
well, because of this and this, and like they won't give him the maximum.
But what's crazy about that is the fact that you already had the forget the other party that was involved. I believe it was the producer who came forward, and he entered a plea deal admitting to manslaughter and recklessly being involved in the death of Helena Hutchins, and he got like 6 months probation.
He has more integrity than Alec Baldwin does.
I absolutely agree. Right.
Yeah.
And that's really what it stands to amount to is him and Hannah Gutierrez Reed, who was the armorer on set,
she's being
are
charged
both being
too.
charged. So it's a double manslaughter charge, one on Alec Baldwin, one on her, and they're both fighting it, of course, in their legal teams, and they have every legal recourse to do that. I'm not denying that they should just be thrown. Fine if you want to go through the courts, but you're right. This comes down to character, and we've seen Alec Baldwin's character throughout this entire shindig and this whole ordeal.
An ounce of responsibility.
Yeah.
He still claims he didn't even pull the trigger.
I know.
Amongst FBI evidence that says otherwise.
Exactly.
It's like, come on.
That's why the only thing I'm hoping is that they have enough substantial evidence to then prove this in the court of law, even with a jury present, and they choose to convict.
Can I read?
Ultimately, yeah, go ahead.
I was
go ahead.
just this ridiculous statement his attorney made, because, man, this just really ticked me off. It says, Alec Baldwin's attorney called the charges a terrible miscarriage of justice, because your client did it, but whatever. In a statement to Fox News Digital, he says, this decision distorts Helena Hutchins' tragic death and represents a terrible miscarriage. It distorts her death because her killer is being convicted. He said, Mr. Baldwin had no reason to believe there was a live bullet in the gun or anywhere on the movie set. He relied on the professionals with whom he worked.
And he's not a professional?
Yeah. Well, no, he's not a professional holding a gun.
Come on.
Yeah. Who assured him the gun did not have live rounds. We will fight these charges and we will win. No, I'm sorry. The basic gun, if you have the gun in your hand, it is your responsibility at that point. And
Absolutely.
I
100%.
know everybody argues, well, that's what the professional's there for because actors don't know anything about guns. Well, then they need to be made before they hold a gun on set to learn the basic fundamental rules of gun safety. And I think it's ridiculous that you should just say, well, because they're actors, they shouldn't know gun safety. No, that's BS.
Part of that statement, though, is kind of a two-edged sword against their defense because they're plainly saying that the professionals there said that there was we assure you there's no live ammo in the gun. Well, guess what? It is illegal for you to have live ammo on the set of a film. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what film it is. You can never have live ammunition. They came out and said this at the beginning. So why would there need to be assurance that there wasn't live ammo in the gun?
Absolutely.
If there was no live ammo on the set, there shouldn't be anything to worry about. So them saying that is basically it's admitting to that we did have live ammo on the set, which in itself is a problem.
And it's incriminating, like you said, even with the fact that he admits he didn't pull the trigger. I mean, that alone right there is so idiotic and stupid for him to have said
the hammer back
in an on-screen interview. It's like, dude, there is no way for a gun to shoot itself. There's none. You have to have human intervention. And even with a revolver, a 6-shooter like he had, yes, the hammer being pulled back, it does not take a lot to actually pull a trigger after you've cocked the hammer back. He was practicing the shooting. He was doing it negligently, whether he was handed the gun or not. Once you are handed a weapon, whether loaded or not, whether with blanks or with real ammo, you never, ever, ever point a gun at someone without checking first that it is completely empty, that there is no harm at all. I mean, the only other time you would ever point a gun at somebody off of a film set is if you're trying to shoot them.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, I just have a quick question about this, and maybe this was stated somewhere along the way and I just haven't read it, but when he shot her, she was filming him. She had a camera. She was filming. That was to my understanding that they weren't. This was a practice shot or whatever, but the camera was pointed at him. She was behind the camera when he shot her. So where's that footage? That would be footage of him pulling a trigger.
She was behind the camera along with, I think, the
footage,
EP.
They weren't rolling?
I don't think they were rolling. They were getting the shot set up.
They were framing the shot, yeah.
Okay.
And he was practicing his pull from his holster, and I believe that, again, I haven't read the entire report of what obviously that's going to come out in the case, but in court.
Can I read what
Yeah, go ahead.
Helena Hutchins' family attorney, because I actually did, because it's funny.
I'm glad they settled the civil lawsuit, but I'm also appreciative of this statement.
Because the way Alec Baldwin's team makes it sound, it's like, oh, everything's all kosher with her family. Like, we're
made them a producer on the film. They're going to get money.
But then when I read this, I'm like, it seems like maybe not. You're just trying to make everybody think like, oh, they're okay with everything now. Because their attorney gave a statement on their behalf. We want to thank the Santa Fe sheriff and the district attorney for concluding their thorough investigation and determining that charges for involuntary manslaughter are warranted for the killing of Helena Hutchins with conscious disregard for human life.
That's it.
And he went on to say that now this is no longer the statement from the family, but this is the attorney just talking. He said, our independent investigation also supports charges are warranted. It is a comfort to the family that in New Mexico, no one is above the law. We support the charges, will fully cooperate with this prosecution, and fervently hope this justice system works to protect the public and hold accountable those who break the law.
100%.
So, yeah, they settled the civil case, but that doesn't sound to me like Alec Baldwin's making me to believe, like, no, they're all fine
it's
now.
It's a slap in the face. I mean, here he is having lived his life, under scrutiny for the last year. Oh, no, you still got your life. You're still at home with your wife and your kids, and you're still living a very rich lifestyle being a celebrity.
Well, that's all he cares about, because now he's afraid that he might have to spend 18 months behind bars.
And that's the thing. It kind of like what that statement alludes to. The fact is that no one is above the law.
Yes.
What better way to present that? Not because, we're trying to stick it to Alec Baldwin. He deserves to be in prison for recklessly...
He killed someone.
Exactly.
And yes, it was not intentional, but still, there are laws about...
Involuntary manslaughter.
Right.
Yeah. Somebody died because of your reckless behavior.
Yeah.
You deserve to spend time behind bars. Hell, we already know he's probably going to somewhere where he's going to be outside playing tennis all day anyway.
It's going to be a
It's like, what the hell kind of,
He's going to spend 18 months in a
He
resort.
should be in a New Mexico prison. You should have to spend time in prison
he
where
will be.
you're charged.
It'll just be like level 1.
He'll spend 2 months at a resort, and they'll let him off for good behavior. It's
true.
ridiculous.
And I think that's the most insane aspect of this whole charade. Is it's like you look at how long it has taken for them to even arrive at this conclusion, and so much of it could have been, whether it be public discourse or what kind of blowback are we going to get. And no, I do have to honor that at least them coming down with the verdict of, we have to charge him with this. There is no way around the evidence that we have that supports any other kind of sentence, or not sentence, but charge against him. It's like, it's obvious this is the one thing that we could peg him for, and that he definitely deserves to be charged with. And so I can only hope the full extent of the law is used here. The jury convicts him if he chooses to take it to a trial, and that they do put him in prison. That's where I have, honestly, the least amount of faith anymore. And it's sad to say, because I would ultimately, in a jury of peers, have faith that they would convict somebody wrongfully or for these this wrongful death. But ultimately, I feel like Alec Baldwin, it's already going to be hard to find 12 people that don't know who he is or don't know what this case is involved. It's already going to be hard to find someone who doesn't have a biased perspective.
Jury.
Exactly. But I can only hope that they to
You hope the jurors aren't just like, oh, I like Alec Baldwin. Let's
Oh,
not-
he's a
yeah.
great actor.
Or oh well, he didn't really mean well, and I've
Yeah.
seen him in so many movies, and he's
Yeah.
a great. Like I can only hope that they look beyond that and they serve him justice. And
Well, if
look,
they're a good jury, they're supposed
18
to.
months in jail, in prison, for what he did in terms of ending a woman's life. Again, doesn't matter if it's it was unintentional. Someone's life was lost.
I mean, whatever time he does spend, if any
It's
at
not gonna
all,
compare.
He's going to come out and he's going to use it in his benefit. He's going to say, "Oh, all my time in prison made me see the light, and it made me a better actor,
yeah.
and now I'm going to go."
Well, and honestly,
and everybody will be praising
maybe-
him again.
And this goes back to the whole. I mean, again, have we come so far in loss of sanity in our society? And I believe we
Yes.
have, to the point where it's like any reasonable person with the right kind of character would have stepped forward and said, "I'm guilty. I feel so terrible for this." I mean, look, he could have already have spent the last year in prison and already had a year of his sentence served
Just have 6
and only have
months
6
left, yeah.
months left. But no, he has to fight this as if he didn't do anything wrong.
Why do that when you can spend no time in jail? I mean, that's,
It is
Well,
like-
and that's the absurdity. The fact that
know.
he is so immoral to think that
worried
he's
about
above
losing,
the law,
He's
that
worried
he
about
is.
using a year and a half of his life when she lost all of her. Like she
Yeah.
doesn't. She doesn't. Yeah, she's.
She doesn't have a life anymore.
yeah.
And her family and her entire
I'm
loved
sorry,
ones are
it's like
completely
sacrificing
changed.
a year and a half of your life for killing somebody is.
And what's funny is the other biggest slap in the face is that they're returning to set this month.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it was resumed shooting
they
today.
Said, despite the charges, they're going to continue. They're going to finish this film.
Well, they have to, because if the husband is a producer on the film and the film doesn't get made, then they don't get any money.
And I think that's exactly what he's hoping. He's hoping that it can turn into a quick PR stunt of let's finish the film.
Yeah. We
did this for
In her
by the
memory.
time this trial comes to light and we get there, the film will be released. We'll have dedicated it to her. It'll be great publicity, great PR, and eventually people will be like, let's just end this. Let's end this. Let's put it to rest and put it behind us.
It'll be nominated for an Oscar.
Oh
next year.
gosh, yeah. No, I honestly think, if there was a shred of decency left in the world, Alec Baldwin would be blacklisted from Hollywood because of this.
I mean,
and the way he's handled it.
Well, no,
I think he
but
should
of course
be.
that wouldn't happen.
Well, of course not, because there is no moral credibility left in the world. There's very minimal.
The same place that still praises Roman Polanski and wants him to be forgiven. So
Harvey Weinstein, heart of gold.
yes.
Heart of gold. Alrighty,
right.
guys, that's our say-so in the matter with Alec Baldwin. Couldn't be more pleased with those charges. I think we're ready to. What was that?
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Well, there it is.
Let's move on to our story time.
It's story time, where the podcast members tell their stories.
It never gets old.
No, it doesn't. Aaron Ralph. Well,
Story.
Aaron Boyd.
Boyd, Aaron.
She's having a second baby.
Yeah.
Soon.
Yeah.
Can you believe
They're
that?
having another kid,
Yeah,
another kiddo, making those little Boyd babies.
Little Boyds.
Popping them out like
The
Catholics.
Boyds.
Little Boyds.
Sounds like and Boyds.
Baby Boyds. Baby Boyds.
They must be buying a farm or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? Pop out some more. Get yourself some cattle. Live life on the
I know.
prairie.
Yeah, I don't.
Are children cattle?
Yeah.
Like, I don't
Yeah,
get
they're
that one.
live-
Might as well.
Children
Yeah.
are just livestock, Sean.
Feed them
That's
and
it.
raise them, and then you cut them up and cook them.
That's right. Crimes of the future.
You need a little
Thank God. Hey, it didn't get
It did not.
snubbed.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank God.
What are
it
we
didn't.
talking about?
We're talking about a time you went camping.
Huh.
We talked about
It's
Last of
almost
Us
like
already.
you catered this unique weekly segment specifically
No.
towards.
One of our other hosts who was out last week.
I mean, there's not a big story to tell about it, so I don't.
It's a good time.
But you enjoyed it.
I did
I don't
enjoy
know.
it. Yeah.
Well, and I've got a good one too.
Yeah.
I can share
Well,
one of a
go
time.
ahead.
that-
Share yours.
Are we gonna end with Sean? He's got the bigger one, I think, and the more relevant, more recent one.
What exactly are you wanting Sean to share on
Yeah,
the
I'm not
podcast?
telling the candle story.
Oh,
That's been ran into the ground.
hashtag candle 2023. Is that what it was? Is that the hashtag?
Candlegate.
Candlegate.
He broke a candle. That's
broke
the
a
big
freaking
news.
candle.
He broke a
Come on.
candle lid, and the lid itself, this massive candle, was so huge.
Hey, Brandon's
it
gonna
cost
tell your
story. He's gonna tell the story
$20.
for me.
Oh, you're being outed.
Whether
I mean, you already
want to
said
or not.
everybody's calling you out anyway. We
Everybody.
got to.
The whole church is calling me out.
Why in the world would we let you get away with that?
I don't know.
If
I
they're
thought it
not
was
going to
pretty
let you,
funny.
we're not going to
I
let
thought
you.
it was a funny story though.
It was funny at the time. It's beginning to not be funny.
I was going to give you the anonymity to tell the story yourself though, but
I will. I didn't tell it all.
Just you guys go ahead,
Yeah.
and then I'll finish up.
All right. So a time that I went camping, I remember when I was younger, we camped out in the backyard. Nothing crazy.
Yeah.
It's me, my dad, my brother, and I don't think it was you, Keith. I think it might have been one of my brother's friends. I don't know if it was Daniel or I can't remember.
He's cheating on you.
It was my brother's friend. It wasn't.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I mean, we've
wasn't-
camped out in the backyard a few times. I don't remember.
Yeah, but this was in mine. We
Yeah.
we did like a makeshift camp. We literally hung up a clothesline
Yeah.
and we put
Oh.
a tarp over and like
Nice.
just put like stakes in the ground or
Yeah.
just rocks on the edges and made a makeshift tent.
Cool.
Old school. And it was in the summertime, so it wasn't too cold. Nothing,
I
not
used
too
to have a
muggy.
James and the Giant Peach tent in my backyard.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah, I remember that.
Go ahead though.
But no, we were out there and just having a good time. It was getting dark, and we were trying to either turn in and we were just telling stories or whatever. Well, then we started hearing some noises.
Oh.
We were like, "What is that?" It sounded like a couple people. Well, our neighbor across the ditch line had a pool, and it turned out that it was a man and a woman skinny dipping late at night, thinking they were alone, and nobody was out there to bug them. And so, of course, what do a couple of preteen boys do but just sit there and try to make fun of the fact that we're like, oh, they're skinny dipping. And, of course, now we're just being loud, and my dad's like, shh, be quiet. And then it's like they hear something, and they're kind of looking over off at us.
so
we're
you
at the
could see them.
Oh, yeah, we could see them. And then next thing we're like sitting there, we're like, look at them, they're over there. Like, oh my gosh, it's like they're naked. It's like it's like, what else do you have to laugh at? And then sure enough, it's like they hear us and they're like, oh my gosh, like they're embarrassed. So then they jump out of the pool real quick. My brother's just like, oh, I see his butt. Oh, look at her butt. And like we're just cracking up. And they're trying as quick as they can to get a towel wrapped around them and run inside. And of course we're just laughing our heads off. And it just turned into be a fun night of watching two people skinny dip and thinking they
Nice.
were all being romantic, and we
Nice.
ruined it for them.
Yeah.
Nice.
They probably went in and made love and made up for it.
That's
Cock
a
blocker.
funny
That's what you were.
story.
That was it. That was the time I went
That
camping.
was a funny story.
All right, that was it.
Most of mine are from going camp. No,
Such a dick. It's such a dick.
No, it was. No, it is a good story though. I gotta give people crap, but no, it was funny. All of mine are mostly like church camp story. I mean, yeah, I had the James and the Giant beach tent in the backyard, and I mean, we slept in it a few times. I don't remember. I know me and you would like stay up late and make goofy stories and stuff. And
Horror
record it.
strikes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fart noises and stuff.
But
But those are just sleepovers.
like,
those
That's
aren't
right.
camping.
with church,
Yeah.
I remember specifically a few.
It never gets old.
Like I remember pulling a prank on our youth minister at the time, and they put leaves in his tent.
Yes,
I was getting ready to say
And
it.
he lost his crap.
Oh, yeah,
over
he did.
It was
I was
really
there.
ridiculous to that.
Y'all
yeah.
put him on his car too, didn't you? Like
Oh, I
on
don't
the,
know. I
somebody
didn't-
put him on the windshield of his
Say,
car and he
I
flipped
didn't
out.
do any of it, to be
Oh, he
honest.
was serious.
But he
Oh,
was
he
he was
flipped out.
He was like on an investigation.
Like our
Yeah.
dads had to say,
Yeah.
like, dude,
Calm
it's
down.
Yeah,
the
he
kids.
was
They're
so
kids.
mad. I mean, it was because we'd had so many youth ministers before that were like, we would prank them, they would prank us back. So
Yeah.
just
It
to
was
have
part
this,
of the deal,
so I have
dude.
this
Yeah,
idea that
that's
like
kind of what you do.
that
Yeah.
we put some leaves in his tent and he lost his mind was,
Oh my
was kind of
gosh.
yeah. But then another one I distinctly remember is kind of funny is I
Dude,
remember
hold on, real
playing-
quick on that matter. I
Yeah.
just remember him walking around and like he literally, it was like,
to find out who did it.
oh yeah, it was like an inquisition.
Yeah.
He was just questioning everyone. He was like,
he's an inquisitor.
he's like, hey, come on guys,
He
come
was
over
gonna
here
put
for
you
a
to the
sec.
question.
And like he was real serious, and he was
like
like,
kumbaya moment.
had-
You tell me who did it.
well, and that was the scariest part of it is he was
Swear to
so
me.
calm in his demeanor and his approach that it was just like
You
this
thought
is a
it's like-
scary like maniacal serial killer behind this. Like he was just like, hey guys, come on over
This
here.
man's gonna snap and kill somebody.
Yeah, and he was just like,
Whole youth.
So there
youth
were,
crew murdered by youth minister.
there were some leaves in my tent, and
He must have had some animals in
do
there,
you
man.
do you know who did it? And it was just like,
the
dude.
raccoons, man. Raccoony, man. It was Raccoony.
But anyways, continue.
No, the story I remember distinctly that related to me is I remember we were playing football in the huge because we would go camping at Jefferson Memorial and they have that big open field and we were just playing like literal like tackle football. And I remember I had the ball. And it was, I don't remember his name at all, which is fine, but it was the boyfriend of Sam Hawks at the time. And he speared me, and like I went down hard, like my head busted the ground. and I mean it hurt. Like I saw black for a few seconds. And like I had to stop playing and walk off. And I remember because my parents were both there. I remember my mom being so. And granted, we were playing tackle football in the rain and the mud, and we're being kids, and the risk. And I wasn't mad about it at all. But it hurt, and I had to give up at that point. Like literally, like
Whiplash.
it was hard. No, my head hit that ground. Like it was brutal. But luckily she didn't make a scene about it. But I mean, she was like visibly not happy. But I do remember like going to bed that night, and then like I woke up the next day, and I think everybody else had already kind of left the tent because normally it was like me, you, Ty, Chase. And I was just laying in my sleeping bag, just kind of like just enjoying just laying there like by myself, not doing nothing. And I just remember hearing like I could hear my parents outside the tent because like I hadn't come out and everybody else was already, I guess, around the fire. And my mom's like, Roger, go check on him. He could have a concussion. And I'm sitting there laying in the tent, and Dad's going, it's like, I'm fine, I'm awake. Because she was like, and granted, I get it. She was concerned, like but I just remember laying there and hearing my mom like, you need to go check on him.
Keith hasn't got up yet.
He's
dead.
Everybody else is out of
I think he's dead.
I think he's dead.
Oh gosh, Roger.
And I mean, and rightfully, I mean, a mother's concerned for her child.
Yeah.
I'm not, but yeah, I just remember laying there like, oh God.
Yeah, I think that might have been the year.
Because at that point, it's like I don't want them to make a scene. Like it's happened. I was already a little embarrassed that like I got speared and my head smacked the ground. Like I wasn't mad at anybody. I was more embarrassed, and I didn't want my parents out there making an even bigger deal about the fact that I just got creamed out in the field playing football.
Dude, I don't know if Amelia remembers this, but it was on one of those camping trips with the church that I think it was while we were playing football. I straight up freaking, I think
your wife.
I think I clotheslined her. And like, I straight up did, dude. I'm dead serious because I remember like we were doing guys and girls, everybody could play.
Say something else,
but no, we were
not nice.
We were playing tackle football.
Yeah,
and it was like I wasn't making any.
There was no touch football.
I don't remember her. I don't.
She may not remember it like distinctly.
I don't remember her playing football.
But I remember she was out there playing along with like Emily Hartman, Brittany Dixon, like all of the girls that were playing.
There was a lot of us out there.
But
it probably was the same exact year because that was like the only year I remember all of us out there like that.
And I remember there was no distinction between guys and girls. It was like we're playing tackle.
Oh no, Derek,
and the girls were just like, well, we're
Derek
playing.
Speared Brittany, which I mean, that sounds bad.
I wasn't interested in her at the time, so whatever.
No, but it's just funny.
I was interested in another one at the time.
I remember distinctly taking her out because she had the ball, and then it was funny because she was like, they were all just like, well, dang, Brandon, and I was like, I'm sorry. She's like, nah. She was like, we're playing. Like she wasn't mad or upset, but it was just kind of one of those things where I do distinctly remember that.
We were trying to hurt each other.
Yeah,
man.
But now let's talk about your most recent camping trip.
I went camping.
Come on.
So I went backpacking for the first time, like in where you carry all your stuff in and set up a little tent in the freezing cold. And
this ain't just driving up to a plot of land and pitching your tent.
This was not like a group camping site or nothing like that. It was just in the woods wherever you can find a spot.
Yeah,
and
roughing it.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, we had to find our own water and filter it and boil it and use that to cook our food. I had terrible gas from this food that these bagged camping meals give you terrible
type,
gas. Terrible, like never before in my life kind of gas. and I was trying to be cordial around a bunch of people I didn't know. They do that intentionally,
so when you get in your sleeping bag, you can create heat.
Oh, I did it in my sleeping bag. My sleeping bag was like a hot air balloon. But
you just didn't want to be in it.
I was trying not to fart in front of like everybody else because it was.
That point, if I'm out in the woods with a bunch of men, I'm letting it rip.
Yeah, it was like some guys were doing it out loud, and other guys were just kind of shaking their heads like these guys are acting like teenagers, and I was like, well, I'm not going to be one of the teenagers, so I held it in.
You know what? At that point, it's like everybody wants to do it. Let loose. Yeah. We're all men.
Yeah.
But it was a good time. Never done that before. I'll tell the freaking story that you want me to tell.
Yeah, of course.
So,
you talked it up. It's a good story.
But I didn't have any plan on telling it on the podcast. I wanted to tell you guys in private. But
I mean, you don't have to. You don't have to share it.
Before the camping trip started, we had to stop at a gas station to get our permit to camp in the backcountry camping is what they call it.
Yeah,
you had to get a permit to get it at Red River Gorge.
I think it's so ridiculous.
So in the gas station, there was all 17 of us are piled in there to get our last minute pee in, and and they have like camping stuff. So, people were. I needed to buy chapstick. You got to have chapstick when you go camping in the cold because it's windy up there and all that stuff. Plus, you can put it on your doodad parts to keep them from chafing when you're
that's a good
walking.
idea.
Yeah. So
Camping trip.
then you put it on your lips
Put
after
it on
that.
your nipples, keeps your nipples.
That's
from
right.
chafing.
That happened too, by the way.
I've done that.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
But
I'll
yeah,
be
had to
honest.
get some last minute stuff. So they had these enormous, like, I don't even know why someone would make a candle that big, to be honest with you. But it was like a gallon sized cookie jar with a candle in it, just a big
gonna last a while.
flipping candle. And I thought, oh well, I don't know most of these guys. The ones that I do know, I don't know them very well. So I was like, I'm just gonna try to be funny and pick this candle up, act like I'm buying it for our camping trip. It's heavy. It'd be funny if somebody actually carried one of these in there, because it's all about how much weight you take in.
Yeah, when you're
trying to
backpacking,
cut
you
the
don't wanna-
weight.
yeah.
You don't want to carry a bunch of stuff. So I picked this candle up, bear hugging it, and I walk up, and I do kind of I do a Keith walk where I'm like, like he does when he creeps up in the shed next door, and he's like, hey, what's going on? Like, I'm being silly, and I say, hey, I'm gonna get this candle for the campsite, and as soon as I get like the last word out, the lid of the candle slides off and just explodes on the floor.
Shatters.
And so I'm trying to be cool. I'm trying to laugh about it. Everybody's dying laughing. Other people are just have this look on their face of just sheer shock because they know something that I don't. And the guy at the cash register comes over with a broom and a dust thing, and he says, "Here you go." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I'll clean it up. That's my mess." So I pick the stuff up and clean it up, and I'm like, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to. I guess I'll buy the candle or whatever. And he says, no, you don't have to buy the candle. You can just buy the lid. You can pay us for the lid. And I'm like, okay, well, how much is the lid? And he says, it's $20 for this lid. And I'm like, what, $20? Like, are you serious?
That's the whole candle.
And he said, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of like a Yankee candle, like $25, $30 at the most.
I don't even want to spend that for a candle. I think
So
that's stupid.
he's just like, yeah, I'm serious. And I'm like, well, how much is the candle? And he says, it's $150 for the candle.
Whoa!
And I'm like, get out of here.
There ain't no way.
No, so I 2 or 3 times in a row, I'm just like, come on, man, you're joking, right?
Come on, man.
Like, you're busting me in front of all these guys. And so, yeah, the other guy behind me, I think his name was Sage. Hadn't really even met him yet until later, but he just, like, slowly flips the sign around
It's like
and shows it to me exactly like that, like a scene from a movie. Flip. Like that.
$150.
Yep, $150, and then it says, "Do not pick up the cookie
well,
jar."
the real question is, why
candles.
was the sign flipped around to begin with? Maybe if it wasn't flipped
Oh
around.
no!
you
It was
would've
where
seen
if I went to grab the candle, I should have seen it.
Oh.
He was flipping
I was
it
trying to
around.
give you a little-
No, there was no.
Okay.
There's no. Yeah. So they all just. Yeah. It was the
Shots like a zombie.
running joke. The whole trip was about this candle. And they've hashtagged it on our group chat. They've put it on Facebook. They've photoshopped me in awkward photos, dropping this candle. And
it's when a joke goes too far.
yeah. I mean, we were
You
even
weren't
at
expecting
we were
that.
at Cracker Barrel. The on our way out, we stopped at Cracker Barrel to get a breakfast Sunday
yeah.
morning. And before we even left the Cracker Barrel, as soon as I walked past the candles, they were all just like, Sean, now stay away from the candles. And I'm just like, oh my gosh,
You gotta
dude,
rib 'em.
Can't live it down. I've been home for 2 days and
You still ain't lived it
I'm
down.
still getting text messages every day.
Well, the problem
We
was
just
is
forced
that
you to say the story. So yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
just make it relive it. Over
Well, I
and
was gonna
over.
say,
over
you-
and over, just like right now.
You
yeah.
told us the story already tonight, and then I was like, well, you're gonna have to tell it again.
Yeah.
So it went on the show.
I wouldn't be surprised if
revels
I'm
in
not
your
on the
pain.
projector Sunday morning, to be honest with you.
That'll be great.
I hope that they don't do that, but I would not be surprised at this point.
Candlegate 2023.
It's gotten that far.
Yep.
Destroyer
No.
of candles.
I think what the best prank would be is a year from now for Christmas if they all pitch together
Get me
and
a
they get
candle.
you the candle.
Yeah.
Like the
Without a lid.
$150
Yeah.
without a lid.
Yeah.
And say, now you have to pay $20 for the lid.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would
my,
be
my
fantastic.
pastor told me after all of this went down, he told me, he was like, first of all, you made my day. I've been laughing about that. He called me Sunday night and told me, because I had a missed call from him, and I was like, I called him back and said, "Is everything all right?" He goes, "Yeah, man." He goes, "There ain't nothing going on. I just wanted to call you and tell you that I've been laughing off and on all day about that. I just think about it and giggle." And he goes, "I just wanted to let you know, just say thank you for making that trip for me. That was the best thing." But then he said,
See, you
"I'm
did
really,"
break the
he said, "I
ice.
appreciate how you handled
Oh, he
it," because
broke
he was
the
like,
glass.
"You could have handled it differently, and you handled it well." And he was like, I think that was pretty awesome. But
He's turning it into a net positive.
it was funny.
See, it's like you handled that with class.
Yeah,
But
with
at
glass.
the same time, it's like we still got to remind you, though, of, and we're not going to let you live it down. That was basically the call. It's like you handled that well, but we're always going to let you remember.
No,
it.
I've been, the text messages I've been getting have just been terrible.
Constant. It's been great.
Yeah, it was just like, "Hey guys, leave Sean alone. I think we should all just drop it." and then it's
So
like,
good.
it's just like all these puns and everything. It's terrible stuff.
So good.
So
Hey, that's how you build camaraderie with everybody.
that's right.
I mean, whether you get speared and your head slammed to the ground or you drop, a glass case.
Yep.
It's like
Drop the
that's-
candle.
Yeah, well.
Okay.
Alrighty, guys, that's gonna do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for tuning
We're not going
in.
to talk about The Last of Us.
We did.
We did.
That,
at the beginning
okay,
of the
well, that was
show.
part of the weekly segment.
That's why I got confused at the beginning
Yeah.
of the show.
I
Yeah.
didn't
It
mention
says
It
and
says,
The Last
and
of Us
we're
in the
gonna talk
notes.
about
we
The Last of
did.
Us.
We
I
did
know.
it at the beginning.
I know,
I'm
that's
sorry.
why I'm fine now. I
I
just
use
was
it as an
confused-
icebreaker.
I was confused at the beginning, and now he's confused at the end.
I only brought that up simply because
Wow.
I only brought it up simply because I was like, we teased it
Yeah,
last
yeah.
week. We're all
Yeah.
here now. We could talk
Yeah.
about it. I kind of
I'm
more
sure we may
interested in
talk
what
about
you
it
think
more
of the second episode, and when
Well,
you
maybe
see it.
next multimedia after we've
That's
seen
true.
several more. We
We can
could.
talk about it.
But no,
it's good to have a series that we can talk about after House of the Dragon Rings of Pooh
Yeah.
back in the
Oh,
fall.
gosh.
I know
Don't
I
mention-
didn't
don't
mean
mention it.
to bring
Look
that
at this.
up.
Look at this picture.
That's great. That is perfect.
Whose body is that?
I have no idea.
That's a meme online. You can find I've
Yeah.
seen that before.
But that's the actual
so good.
that's the actual candle.
yeah.
It was from
Oh,
another
it is?
picture. Yeah, they
Oh, that's
found
beautiful.
another picture.
That's beautiful.
That's
Yeah, I told the
hilarious.
guy, I was like, "Can you make my head smaller? And thank you for picking a thin guy's picture." Because
No, the head size is what makes it
The
part.
head size
that's
is
funny.
insane.
Yeah, if it was smaller, I think it wouldn't be as funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But did it smell like cookies? Did the candle smell like cookies?
It was
Snickerdoodle?
I think it was some kind of berry. Because originally it was hashtag Candleberry. Now it's hashtag Candlegate. Like I said, this has been going on for
The whole trip?
48 hours pretty much.
Yeah.
What'd you do?
Yes.
Perfect. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was perfect.
Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it. We'll continue Candlegate throughout the course of, the next year. So keep tuning in for every single episode, every single Tuesday night, live here on YouTube, Facebook, all the social media platforms.
Yeah.
9 p.m. Eastern.
Watch your shoe.
I thought they even pushed a button, but
No, that was his voice.
Mommy.
Oh, that
You
got
can
me.
email
that caught
us.
me off guard.
Right there at the bottom of your screen, rmpodcast@redmoonproductions.com. That's our wonderful old-fashioned way of contacting us. Or like, share, subscribe on all of our social media accounts. Red Moon Book, Red Moon Tweet, Red Moon Pics, and of course search for Red Moon Productions on YouTube. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Oh, is there something else?
Are we gonna tell about that emails?
He
I
mentioned it.
I just
I
did,
wasn't
but
paying
you no.
attention.
You
No.
missed your cue.
Well, I was gonna say you do say it better. So go ahead.
I just like to do it now.
Okay.
It
I
makes
threw
me
it up there
happy.
just for you because you do say it the best.
Oh, I messed it up. I don't want to do it now.
us
Hold
one.
on.
No, you got to do
Hold
it.
on, hold on.
Hold on,
Hold on,
yeah.
hold
He's drinking from that moon mug. Now he's got the right.
Okay.
RMPodcast@redmoonproductions.com.
Just absolutely gorgeous. Love it. Alrighty, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Wait till next week when we review. Well, we'll find out. And we'll let you know on our Twitter. That's why you follow us on social. We'll let you
Yeah.
know on there. Until next time, I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host.
Sean Sebastian.
And that's it.
Wow.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.